This is Jason USA, CEO of Chibson USA, proud sponsor of Meaningful Times with Friends. You can check out the website chibson.com and find all of the great products such as the Chib Grip and the Mini Jumbo Handpick, and follow them on Instagram or TikTok for more information and all of their cool stuff.
Come in. 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 Come in.
We are back. Meaningful Times with Friends, episode 12. What is 12 in Spanish?
Doce.
But yes, we are back. Jason, Nathan from Newark, Ramshackle Dan, the fabulous foursome of friends that we are. Also, want to say thank you to those who've been watching, keeping up with the Meaningful Times with Friends. If you are sitting between these episodes and you're like, why do you guys only put these out every 2 weeks? Like, we need more. Why can't you do weekly? Why can't you, have more episodes or whatever? I want to remind you, there is a backlog of all kinds of shit that led to this moment on the Mean Dave channel. There are archives of the In the Meantime with Mean Dave podcast from its first incarnation as a video suicide letter with friends, moving on to a somewhat of a mock late night show format, and then moving on to the pandemic format, which was kind of a combination of edited video diaries with guests, with all kinds of stuff. And that evolution led to here with Meaningful Times with Friends. So there's a shit ton of stuff that you can go watch and kill time with. Is it as good as Meaningful Times with Friends? No, it is not. That's because when it raised the bar, having the caliber of co-hosts that I have here with the friends. So this content is the highest. And also, some of you have only been watching 1 or 2 episodes of these. So why don't you go back and do your fucking homework and watch the other episodes? Watch the rest of them. Had somebody make a comment about not knowing about Ramshackle Dan's camera issues, and I said, really? Then that means I can tell you have not been watching Meaningful Times with Friends from episode 1, because if you did, you would know about what is going on in the panel of Ramshackle Dan, and you wouldn't be asking these questions. So you need to go back, do the work, come back up and catch up, and there's plenty for you to enjoy here that is meaningful in the times with Meaningful Times with Friends. But again, thank you for all of those who have been keeping up, doing your homework, doing all that kind of wonderful stuff. Please keep up the good work, and we thank you. We had a dip in views, probably our biggest dip. I don't know. It's like a hangover after the big episode with Dan Lactose. We've been getting some sluggish numbers. There seems to be some people that were taking a break from Meaningful Times with Friends in the last episode. I don't know. It's because I used 2 title cards that were both black and white, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it was the curse of 3 Day Stubble, because I used that image for the title card. I don't fucking know. But I just want to say, whoever's slacking, again, what are you doing? We make these episodes for you. So do your part and watch them. And that's not an apology. That's more a flat out, that's a declaration of war against our fans. So, yeah, keep up. All right. So I thought we had no apologies this week. Normally we start off with the business, the old minutes. Then I was informed we do have apologies. I don't know specifically what they are, but let me get our apology screen up here. What are we sorry about this week?
Well, I'm sorry because I'm sufficiently mature that I can allow other people to be wrong on the internet, but I cannot abide that in myself. So there were 2 things that I was wrong about during last episode. The first one was that I said that I would to the 3rd Lollapalooza, the 1st and 3rd Lollapalooza. It turned out to be the 1st and 4th Lollapaloozas that I went to. When you flashed the flyers on screen, I realized I was wrong because I did not see Front 242 at Lollapalooza. Instead, I went to the Lollapalooza with the Breeders and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and Shona Knife and L7, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was the fourth Lollapalooza I went to. So I apologize for. And the second apology was that I brought up a Dead Milkmen song that I referred to as a Dead Milkmen song about the evils of Shana Na. And I misquoted a line, as well as kind of was misleading about the actual intent of the song. But the line I misquoted a line that was supposed to be Shana Na stabbed that guy at Altamont. And I referred to it as, like I said, a song that about the evils of Shana Na. In fact, the song is called In Praise of Shana Na. However, I would like to point out that it does seem like it's entirely ironic. So there really isn't a lot of positive stuff being said about Shana Na in that song at all. However, it's a very catchy song and it's been stuck in my head ever since I brought it up. So, they did something right there. And that's what I'd like to apologize about. Thank you.
Well, not sure how to feel about this. All
I
right.
want to besmirch the good name of Shana Na after all.
It just seemed like it was a Jason on Jason crime. And he just kind of walked us through the whole, like...
Oh, I mean, I don't want to say nobody's fact checking you, but just sort of appreciate your honesty. That's good.
This is when some hardcore Shana Na fan in the fucking
in
the comments for the next episode.
I haven't had.
I'm so happy you fucking clarified that. Man.
But he's probably right.
You never know. I would say though, if you met a hardcore Shana Na fan, I will bet you any amount of money that person's batshit crazy.
And also like 80.
And good at yeah, man.
We have talk a lot on this show about music, and we talk a lot on this show about bad music. And there's the battle of the bands concept, and there's also the NCAA bracket type concept. And we thought it'd be great to have as Jason dubbed it, a battle of the bads. So basically, a loser takes all, fight to the bottom. To see who at the end will be the king of suck or the queen of suck, and queen does suck, but not in this tournament. So anyway, so we're going to go through, I think the first half of the bracket. There are 32 bands, close to 80 were submitted. We're doing a quarter of them, 4 matchups, 8 bands. And one of the things I think that we learned during this process is, unfortunately, you have to actually watch and listen to a lot of this music to get prepared. And it's enough to put you in a foul mood, let me tell you. Without further ado, I think we should just discuss. So I think we just kind of go around the bend and talk about both bands, at once, and then kind of give your opinion on which one's worse. And so the one that's worse moves on. And we'll face each other in the next round. We'll do this 4 times, and then it'll start whittling down, and then it'll be the second time we talk about the bands. For the next 4 episodes, though, we're going to be talking about bands we've never talked about before, never featured on the show, and discuss the demerits of their suckdom. Mm-hmm. And we will see who will move on to the next round. So do you want to...
So this will be ongoing with our next few episodes.
So you want to start with the first matchup?
Mm-hmm. First matchup. It's Sacramento's own Death Grips versus New Kids on the Block. Where are they from?
Boston.
They're from Boston? Oh, shit.
Yes.
Wow. They really shouldn't have any pride in that shit. That's our first matchup. Death Grips versus New Kids on the Block. So I guess let's start with Jason.
The thing is, I don't hate Death Grips. So I can't vote for them being worse than New Kids on the Block. Now, for this whole process, I was going through some of these pairings, and I'm having I had a hard time with this while I was making my submissions. It's like separating between I think this sucks and this is bad, because it's easy to say New Kids on the Block suck, but they kind of don't, because they were successfully accomplishing what they were setting out to do, and they're not to my taste, but they have built-in appeal because they were designed to be appealing. Whereas Death Grips are designed to be unappealing, and I kind of like that, but there are things about it that I don't like. So it's hard to say which one of these is actually the worst of the two. Like, are we saying it's the worst to me or the worst in like the
I'm-
platonic ideal of what's good?
I'm whatever makes you find it.
Yeah, I think what we're going to find out is that we each have our own process for deciding, and they're all valid.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whatever you say at the end of the day is like this band is worse than this band, and it could just one makes you angrier or sadder than the other. There doesn't have to be a math to it.
Yeah, I know about being made angry or sad by music. Yeah. Well, then it's easy. Because I forget what it was from, but there was a judge speaking to another judge, and he said, "Always be just, and if you can't be just, be arbitrary." And so, with that in mind, I don't hate Death Grips, but I do hate New Kids on the Block. So therefore, New Kids on the Block is worse.
All right, one for New Kids sucking. All right, Nate.
I hate both of these. It's interesting. New Kids on the Block were like a phenomenon when we were like probably in junior high, but they seem to have like faded into obscurity. Like on radio, for instance, you don't hear like a lot of other 80s shit that you hear played to this day. The New Kids kind of faded into nothingness, and you don't really hear their music. That being said, I find Death Grips unlistenable. I added them to this contest. I was subjected to them on a road trip once upon a time, 10, 12 years ago, and they're not road trip material music. There's no groove to 80% of their songs. You can't, like, if you're driving, you want something that's like a beat, or you can't pick up on a groove with Death Grips. And not all fusions of things are good. Like, I hate ska punk. That's not a good mix of genres. And I don't like Death Grips. They're not a good mixture of electronic music, punk aesthetics, hip hop, industrial, whatever they're doing. It fucking doesn't work. So for me, Death Grips suck the most out of this pairing.
Wow. So okay, so we're going with that. So that's one for Death Grips, right? So for Nate, it goes. Guillotine. All right. That's a nod to the Death Grips song. Ramshackle, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree with Nathan. Like, Get Got is just repetitive. No Love is like bad slam poetry and bad and repetitive. I do like what they're trying to do sometimes when I can understand what they're trying to do. But like the audio visual stuff is very unique. But it to quote Jason, it makes me unhappy. Like, I hate looking at like him sitting in a chair in an alley. Like, that's interesting, and it's really, really ugly. Like, the whole thing's ugly. That car with the static stuff. It's just yucky. And I don't really understand what the appeal is. Like, Nathan's like, it's not good road trip music. Like, what's the situation you're gonna find yourself in? You're like, oh yeah, Death Grips would really hit the spot in this situation. Like what? Like precoital. So New Kids on the Block is basically like an experiment in how popular New Edition would be if they were white, right? Yeah. And it's like New Edition spawned Bobby Brown, Ralph Tresvant, Belle Biv DeVoe, and New Kids on the Block spawned like more shitty white boy bands, and it just kept going through like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, all the way through One Direction, Jonas Brothers, like. So like overall, like Death Grips are pretentious, but New Kids on the Block like spawned like decades and decades of vapid suck. So I'm gonna have to go New Kids on the Block being worse.
Wow. All right, and me. So yeah, Death Grips. This was a group that it was suggested to me in 2012 by an old music acquaintance of mine, and he said, "Dave, you should check this out. You'll like this." And it was I just watched the video for the song earlier today. I forget the name of it. I forget the name of all their songs most of the time because they make no fucking sense. I don't know what he's saying in any of the shit, and I have to admire that they are a group that's kind of doing with industrial rap, if you want to call it rap, what Oxbow does with instrumentation. Oxbow being a local band that's gone on to some notoriety, but they are primarily known for making very uncomfortable music with guitar, bass, and drums and vocals and some other instruments here and there. But the goal is to make music that genuinely is unsettling and is not. Yeah, no one to kind of Nate's example. no one's in a car on a road trip like, hey, let's check out some Oxbow here. Let's put on some. Nobody does that either. You put on Oxbow when you want people to leave a party. And Ramshackle and I were talking yesterday about Death Grips, and albeit their approach, the outcome, the whole artness of it, and all that kind of stuff, I see holes in it. I don't really. I can kind of pick it apart, whatever. But however, I've found them intriguing. On paper, I should like them. I don't exactly. But recently, I found a bunch of free downloads of their shit, so I downloaded all of it, and I started listening to it just to see if I can get into it, and I have, oddly enough. I don't go back. There's nothing I go back and then I want to check that out again. It's more just oh, I feel like listening to something that's just going to wash through my. It's like listening to noise, which I also listen to, fucking noise. So it's so on that basis, it's actually something that I do respect. In spite of the fact that I do find it random and I find its audiences are the terrible part of it, because they're kind of these are people that want to see a there that isn't there. But New Kids on the Block, on the other hand, if I were to look at them on their own merits as a boy band, they have not succeeded. They didn't last as long as a group as Death Grips have in terms of longevity. And then, they garnered some success and they were iconic when we were in junior high. You go back and you watch any of that shit is fucking sad, man. I watched some of that shit today. Oddly enough, I can stomach an NSYNC song. I can stomach a Backstreet Boys song. Not to say that they're good, but I can see there are people who still reference them in movies today and all that stuff. Ain't nobody looking back on New Kids on. Donnie Wahlberg even isn't looking back on New Kids on the Block, and he acts today. Not only that, he was the one who was successful first, and then his brother, who was Marky Mark, ended up having a way more prominent acting career. And Donnie Wahlberg is basically acting in his shadow in Saw sequels and on some whatever TV shit that he's on. There's nobody else successful from New Kids in any other. They didn't spin it off into anything else. None of those. I'm sure they're fine where they're at. There might be some drug addictions. I don't know if any of them are dead. I don't know. I don't care. No one cares. They're basically people trying to erase them from history. New Kids definitely shits. So that's 3-1.
Yep. The good news for Nathan is you don't have to listen to any more Death Grips.
Yeah, they're out of here. Yeah, they're gone.
Fuck you, New Kids.
But I will say this. Objectively better dancers than Death Grips.
Oh yeah, totally. If you wanted to truly create what I feel like is a schizophrenia in a band, that's Death Grips. When I hear Death Grips, I picture the dude who's on BART or on the bus or on the street who's sitting there going, it goes, guillotine, and that's what they sound like. It's exactly...
Well, it's like what I said to you guys in chat. It's reminds me of Wesley Willis without the fun.
Yeah, but Wesley, you understood what he was saying. I mean, rock and roll McDonald's. I knew the lyrics there. I don't know what the fuck this dude's talking about. There's one of the album covers is literally a dick with the name of the album on it. What's that one, Jason?
I don't remember, but it was the drummer's dick.
Yeah, it's one of their dicks.
That's actually pretty cool.
I have it on my iTunes here. I can find it.
That is the best answer to the question that he did not ask ever.
What?
He's like, what album was that? And Jason's like, it was the drummer's dick.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because I don't remember the name. I just know that.
Who's, but not what. It's No Love, Deep Web. That's the name of it. So, all right. So okay. So New Kids move on. Our next matchup is Everclear versus Counting Crows. That is a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Let's start off with you, Ramshackle.
Yeah, so this is kind of same, different. This is a very intentionally matched up because it really starts with what's worse than Counting Crows, and this may be the answer. So Counting Crows, this guy looked like he was hiding a terminal illness behind costume shop dreadlocks. If you look at him throughout their video history, he starts getting pastier and grayer. But that's probably the best part about the band. This was really weird. They had only 3 hits, really, and they just would not stop playing it. Like Mr. Jones, they would not stop playing it. I don't know why it's not a good song. It's just jangly and uninteresting. It doesn't make any sense. This guy is a horrible dancer too. He's like, hopefully he and Sophie B. Hawkins never find each other in the dark with some death grips going on in the background. They had that Mr. Jones thing when that finally faded. Then it went to Round Here, which was like a shittier version of a song. And then it went to like something December. And then they just eventually went away. They tried like this weird hanging around thing, but they eventually went away. Everclear is like the opposite. Like they came out with that Santa Monica song, which is like really, I mean, it's like taking like what the door that Nirvana opened and putting the least amount of effort into songwriting in that already lazy door that got opened. And they made the exact same song with Father of Mine. And then they just kept making pointless songs, just on and on and on and on and on. And they just don't stop. And they even did a cover of Brown Eyed Girl, which I never even knew it existed until I started researching them. And I just don't think they're ever going to stop. And this guy, his beard looks like a landing strip. So I don't know. I think Everclear is just worse by sheer volume and persistence. So I vote for Everclear being worse.
Okay. All right. So Everclear is worse. That's one for Everclear. Nathan.
I've talked about it on our little show here before. And I worked in pop radio in the 90s. And so my exposure to Counting Crows was like intense from like 95 till probably around 2000. And I hate the song Mr. Jones. Like that song to me it's just his voice. That Mr. Jones, I'm never going to sing on this thing again. I'm not doing it. But you know, it's funny. I could not remember who Everclear was. I had to look them up. Like, I mean, there's like this big 90s blur that has occurred. I know that they probably played them on Live 105, but none of their songs registered to me. And when I played them, I just kind of went, "Oh yeah, that's Everclear." So for me, I think Counting Crows wins this one just because of sheer exposure and how much I had to hear them through career path. So yeah, strong Counting Crows sucks more for me in this one.
All right. So that's one for Crows. Jason.
I am on the Nathan train with this one. I too forgot who Everclear was until I heard I Am Still Living with Your Ghost. And then I went, oh yeah, that band. Now functionally, these two bands to me are essentially like they're basically the same band, except one of them is louder, you know, and that would be Everclear. I fucking hate Counting Crows. I really hate that song, Mr. Jones. I have to hear it across the street from where I live every time I work because it's on regular rotation on the PA. I'll have to like be walking to the back room or something because I can't hear it in the kiosk where I'm standing until like I get out into the main store, and then I'll hear that Mr. Jones fucking voice cracking fucking bullshit, and I can't take it. I fucking hate it. So Counting Crows is 100% worse than Everclear.
It's like both of them can be innocuous and bland, but Counting Crows, much like his turd locks that he has, he like puts just a little bit more so that it's like, wow, it's like you won't let me forget that you're right there. I mean, personally, I don't like either of these bands. I do remember who Everclear was, but it always takes a little bit. It's like it's basically we have a hangover from drinking a lot of Everclear during the 90s, and you're in a haze, and you're like, oh yeah, that's that one band that like no one cares about, and somehow they snuck through and got successful, singing songs about his bad relationship with his missing father or some shit. He wrote like a whole album, I guess, or something to do. Always had to do Father of Mine, that shit or whatever. And then Counting Crows. What's funny is I only thought about Counting Crows recently because Adam Duritz did probably the only good thing he's ever done in his life. He did a acoustic cover of Howard Stern's recent throwaway song from his band Took Us. Howard's made like a studio band called Took Us, and they're all songs related to to taking dumps and things to do with the butt and whatever. Hence the name Took Us. And he has a song though called Metamucil Man that didn't make the cut. of songs that they're keeping, but they've still played them from time to time or whatever. And Adam Duritz, being a fan of Stern, did an acoustic cover of Metamucil Man, which is probably the only positive piece of music he's ever put into the universe, singing a song about something that helps you shit easier. So that being said, yeah, Counting Crows, I would definitely say it's worse than Everclear, only because their songs pierce into your brain more, and they're truly like, it's like they're terrible, doesn't leave your, it's not, I mean, trying to think of like a chemical comparison of like just something when you accidentally, you know, I'll say when I eat cheese and when I eat milk, because I'm allergic to milk or whatever, I get this bile, I want to barf it up right away. And God forbid I ingest it. It stays in my system for a long time. That's what Counting Crows does in your head. It's not an earworm that's positive. You get stuck in your head, and it might drive you to want to put a gun to your head, hearing that Mr. Jones and Me and round here. Fucking hear that. No, I just saw the title and I'm like, oh God, it's that. I remember that hook, and it's a hook into your fucking brain in your throat. You don't want to live. So Adam Duritz, yeah, and the Counting Crows, they definitely are the worst. So we'll I think are we unanimous on that?
No.
Oh, you were one.
But trust me, it's tough. I actually basically I'm not going to change my vote, but I could be persuaded based on just the pain that they've caused you all.
It's going to be the Counting Crows who move on. So they move on, and
so they're hanging around.
Yeah, they're still around here. God damn it, man. All right, next lineup we've got. Okay, and this is a group that only these guys would remember, because these are old grudges. Remember, that brought this shit up. A band called Consolidated, which, quite frankly, if you're in the Bay Area, you would remember maybe, but not many people around the country would remember. Some do, some don't. Most don't, because most never heard of them. And then the other one is a group that most people do know, because it was the early group that launched Beyonce's career. This is Destiny's Child. So we have Consolidated versus Destiny's Child. I'll start. Kick this one fucking off. Again, and we have our group chat, and earlier today, I got into the research late for all of this stuff. I was cramming everything because I, quite frankly, I thought this was fun. And so I was like, I'm going to save my fun for right before the show. So I did the cramming and realized that Consolidated, they're a group that I was never that familiar with. They are one of these groups from the 90s, probably late 80s when they formed, but then more in the 90s, they were known, who have, they combine industrial music with rap, and in a way that's kind of, I don't know, it's very message heavy. Got a lot of pro left wing liberal kind of concepts that in the 90s, we didn't use the word libtard yet, but these guys were ahead of their libtard cuck ways, man, doing it long before it was cool. And I don't even know if it's ever been cool, but these guys did it like it was cool. And they're all white boys. Trying to, oddly enough, they look like Nazi skinheads who are trying to argue a woke agenda, which is really just hilarious to look back on. But like I said, I never heard them, never really listened to them, and realized, I don't really care that much for them even after I've heard them. And I'm not that annoyed with the music itself. Is like something that, had I heard it, I might have even heard it back then, but I want to say it was, there's bands that existed that you can see what their concepts were. I think we were talking about, Public Enemy was definitely an influence on these guys. There was another group that was a Bay Area group, very similar, that was part of kind of their world, Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy. And even part of this world was a group that we are all fans of, for the most part, Grotus. They were part of the Bay Area kind of avant-garde industrial scene that existed here. And out of all those groups, only Grotus, not only is that a group that we all kind of agree that we enjoyed, but I still listen to Grotus to this day and wonder why they didn't get kind of a fair shot from larger audiences at longevity. They were a very unique kind of sound that unfortunately just didn't catch with a large enough audience to sustain their doing of it. Consolidated, I'm glad they ended it. I'm glad they threw it in for what it was doing and what it was saying and what it was trying to say back then. Oddly enough, it don't hold up today, even though the messages are very relevant to a lot of today's causes. One of the songs that Nate shared with us, it was a song that was on Live 105. He said quite we played on there quite a bit, and it's definitely a pro-choice song. I'm all for their messages. I just wish they made better music to try and make it attractive. If I were to base my views on watching consolidated videos, I would be an NRA right-wing fucking nationalist, lining up wanting to just, I'd be like, yeah, go ahead, man. Build a wall, do all this shit so we keep this shitty music out of it. Destiny's Child, though, dear God, I have a long-standing hatred for, and it's not because I don't like R&B music. I love R&B music. I'm a big fan of En Vogue. I love classic R&B. I love some of the new school stuff. Not much, but it's okay. I love Sade. Destiny's Child, I fucking hate because they somehow got a pass in making these hyper catchy songs that, for what I would call back in their time, were aimed at chicken heads. And I don't know if you remember the term chicken head, but it was what they called a fallacious woman. All right, because they bob their head like a chicken on that dick. These songs were aimed at a culture that, quite frankly, it was reinforcing value systems for women that made them shallow, dependent on men, and greedy. Just all of the worst quality, everything that a misogynist would want to hate about a woman. These songs encourage by Destiny's Child, and somehow they get a pass, and not only got a pass, but launched Beyonce's career into this kind of bullshit horse shit icon of feminine individual power, and she's not. She's just another lie and a hustle. And and Destiny's Child, if you go back and you listen to these songs, listen to the lyrics, the music itself also, it's just there's these, and it sticks in your head a lot like Mr. Jones does, but in a bad way. I listen to Say My Name, which is probably a song people still enjoy. It's what Say My Name, Say My Name. And then if you listen to the song, this is a song that comes from the perspective of a bitch who suspects her boyfriend or husband is cheating. It is a song that is planting doubt in its audience's, mindset about their significant others. It is a song designed to create fights. It is a song designed to end relationships. It is a shitty intention song. It is and not only that, it's catchy as fuck. I'll say that. But you watch it and again, I want to stab my eyes. I want to stab my ears. And it makes me literally hate Beyonce and whoever the random they kept switching up the singers that are in her group too. I think only like one of them, Kelly Rowlands, is like part of the, I don't know. They always kept having the other bitches who weren't Beyonce. It was just Beyonce needed a crew. And so they hired a bunch of other dancers that always kept changing from song to song because they kept firing them. So which one's worse? Consolidated didn't do all that. They were trying. They meant well, even though they sucked. So I'm going to say Destiny's Child.
I mean, Destiny's Child is terrible. I didn't realize it because I was telling these guys earlier, I never made it more than like 15 seconds through a song before I changed it. So I had really no memory of it. I just like, I don't like this. And I just changed it. So I went back and listened to a bunch of stuff. Bootylicious was a shit show of a song. And Bills was even worse. It felt like the song wasn't even finished. And then, kind of looking at it, it's basically like a shittier, sexed up version of TLC. Like TLC wasn't bad, and they tried to replicate it, but like fine tune it and make it, like really sexy. And it's just not. It's not even remotely as good. But it's, whatever. It's crap.
Not Scottish, huh? So no, sorry, never mind.
Consolidated is like off the rack industrial music, like you could find laying around. Like put to like this guy just like literally just reciting his political views to it. America Number One is like one of the most over-the-top, heavy-handed songs I'd ever seen until Nathan sent that link with the abortion song. And
Butyric Acid, I think, is the name of the track.
Yeah. It's like Consolidated Anthem is like the same shit, like with a little. But he sounds a little like Butthouse from Limbo Maniacs in that one. With a little, it's like I don't know. It's like Limbo Maniacs meets Rage Against the Machine. I don't know, like because Rage Against the Machine was like the preachiest, most obnoxious, heavy-handed shit I'd ever heard until Consolidated. So I don't know. He's just reciting politics over boring music. So I would say like Consolidated is at least uniquely awful, and self-serious to boot. So I'll say they're a little bit worse. And bonus non-sucky points. Beyonce being in Austin Powers trilogy, so that gives him a little bit of boost.
Yeah. All right.
Go ahead, Nathan.
1-1 so far. All right. What do you got, Jason?
Well, I would just say Consolidated was my suggestion for the list, and that by default makes them worse than Destiny's Child. I don't have anything against Destiny's Child. Was never really a big fan. I've heard a lot of Destiny's Child because the time when they were really big, I was spending a lot of time at the Pendulum bar in the Castro, which was, they played R&B and hip hop and stuff. And it reminds me of a good time in my life where I was having a whole lot of fun and drinking a whole lot of booze and fooling around with a whole lot of guys. And I had a good time that time. So Destiny's Child was largely a soundtrack to me having a good time. So they're all right by me.
All right. Nate?
Well, this one's officially a tie because I would vote for Destiny's Child being the worst of these two. Like Jason, I have good memories, but they're in the opposite direction. I was heavily involved in the industrial scene in the Bay Area from like 89 until the early 2000s. Went to numerous shows. It's a pretty small scene. There was a guy named Bill that my cousin Victor and I used to talk to all the time. Big, tall guy. He had like Michael Hutchins hair. Always had the same Consolidated leather jacket on. He had a black leather jacket that had a big Consolidated thing on the back. And for years, I'll be honest, I didn't know who their music was. I was never curious about it. This song that I sent you the link for today was the only song I really ever knew of theirs. And so just seeing Consolidated on shirts and jackets and shit like that reminds me of a great time in my life when I went out to clubs and saw all kinds of bands. So even though I think I'm pretty neutral on Consolidated, actually. Their music is, it does nothing for me. But I really, really dislike Destiny's Child. I'm fine with classic 70s, 80s R&B, but I don't like R&B past like 1995. Just not my thing. Especially, I don't know what you call that vocal style where they do those runs where it's just nonstop, every note for every word.
I don't follow. Can you demonstrate it?
No. However, I can't. I would listen to Consolidated all day long over Destiny's Child. And yeah, that's that.
It's funny because we're about to talk about another band in the next bracket who was doing something similar that Destiny's Child did in a lot of their videos, a lot of these neck moves, like doing a lot of love someone's hand beam and someone's hand beam, like. And just the spastic again. It's the chicken head movement, really, because that's the agile neck. And it's funny that
Ramshackle Dan
says that it was a sexied up TLC. The outfits and a lot of the posturing was, but again, if you listen to that music, there is nothing sexy in that fucking music. Again, with Bills, say my name, you cheating on me, motherfucker. And there's nothing happy, even though they do booty. I'm a survivor. Why? Because probably she was with a man who was beating her. All right, so there's all this shit in their music that is from a very negative female perspective that has a very ugly female foundation, and women were eating it up and thinking that it was like something pro-female. I'm like, there ain't nothing pro-female in this shit, and you're idiots if you think so. And having gay sex to it, well, that's probably the best thing I've heard about Destiny's Child, and the most appropriate thing to hear in Destiny's Child was that it got Jason some man flesh. So all right.
So what do we do with the tie? How do we advance one of these guys?
Well, I didn't know we had Destiny's Child fans in our fucking little meaningful times with friends circle here.
All right, so Ramshackle's the commish. So does he get the final say?
I think we just do a coin flip because they're I said.
I think we do coin flip because I think everyone's made compelling arguments, and nobody here is saying Destiny's Child is good.
No, Jason just did. He has.
No.
You can maintain a boner.
He
no,
said
you can maintain a boner to the song.
You
think it's good.
Is good.
No bullshit. He can maintain a boner and come to orgasm with a song. I'm sorry. That's he likes it.
Dude, at the time I could maintain a boner through anything.
Oh, really? Consolidated? You think so? You could fuck to Consolidated? Because from the sound of it, you couldn't.
Well, believe me, I was ready for anything at any time.
Then your notes on Destiny's Child. I almost want to say Jason's vote is no. Then
I actually kind of want to have sex to Consolidated. I want to see
and have an abortion right after.
During. Yeah, we should have a secondary tournament of ranking the bands and which ones would be the worst to have sex to.
All right, so heads. I'm going to give to Destiny's Child. Tails will go to Consolidated. So
they suck ass.
Boom. So then whoever it comes up, that means they're the winner. So the loser moves on. You understand?
Are you sure?
Yeah. Heads is Destiny's Child. Tails is Consolidated. So whoever comes up is the winner, and therefore the loser advances.
Okay, sure.
Our logic? All right, we're agreed upon this?
Yes.
All right, the winner is Destiny's Child. Consolidated moves on. All right.
Okay.
So you guys got to hear more Consolidated. Hell yeah. So our last for this episode is Crazy Town, which nobody remembered in this group except me. Crazy Town.
I know I remembered that for sure.
And Smash Mouth, which actually came up in the news recently. Rest in peace, the all-star, whoever the fuck he is, the big fat guy, the Guy Fieri of the band.
See, that's interesting you said that, because this was the Guy Fieri bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And even though neither of them look anything like Guy Fieri, but there's something just so viscerally Guy Fieri about both of these bands.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that can make Guy Fieri suckier is to try and make it sexy, and that's what Crazy Town did. They actually tried to make it, and they did it really, 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 really overtly.
I don't even know if I would say it's sexy. They basically are Axe body spray in the form of a band, as I see it. I mean, they're all oiled up, and mm-hmm. What Crazy Town really did was usher in the birth of the human tribal tattoo vibe and piercings in the face. I mean, these guys really should have had their faces tatted, and they might still be around. Just because nothing about them is musical. Only people remember this song, but everything about this song is everything that ushered in the culture that we have today of mainstream tattoos, mainstream piercings everywhere, mainstream, I would even say, even though there's not much in it, but mainstream hair colorings. I mean, you got women in there with dreadlocks, white women, all that shit from Hot Topic to your tattoo parlors. All is ushered in mostly in the mainstreaming with this kind of song.
Do you guys remember that show Family Matters with Steve Urkel? Yeah. And at some point they had a plot change where he would go into this machine he built and he'd come out as Stefan.
Yeah,
he was like Cool Urkel, right?
Yeah, that's what. Look, these guys look like the Island Boys stepped into that same machine.
When you say that, though, that's what I'm saying. This is an evolution of that fucking idiocracy part of our music culture, and the Island Boys are where it led to.
Butterfly was sort of I don't even know how you would consider it. It was kind of emasculated Linkin Park, but still trying to be the LL Cool J sexy vibe. And this video was basically we're just going to slowly fuck you with this song over and over again. And the good news is they mostly went away after this, but it was memorably bad enough to make this list. Smash Mouth, on the other hand, Walking on the Sun was kind of a run-of-the-mill shitty song. So I full disclosure, I kind of fell into a Smash Mouth rabbit hole this morning and watched this 25-minute documentary. So apparently the guitar player, the guy who writes all their songs, in the wake of the Rodney King riots, for the first time felt unsafe in his city. So he wrote Walking on the Sun, and it was in the style of the Santana song. And his band that he was currently in were yeah, dude, no, go ahead and put that in your closet. And so when they formed Smash Mouth, he brought it back out again. And they're like, yeah, dude, no. He's like, hold on. He's like, then I gave it like this kind of Doors riff, like that I'm not going to do it. So I don't want to go out like Nathan. But that, you know exactly that note. That note they're playing. And so like if you look at the video, right, it looks like they're at
It
some,
ain't no
like,
joke.
So if you watch the video, right, it's supposed to be this 90s like
That's in the ad. That's in the trailer.
absolutely. And they're like dressed up in like high-end tiki gear and like on a beach, like having the time of their life, and they would not stop playing it. And then like many bands before them, they come up with a shittier song, but it goes like super supernova, and it was worse. The same thing happened with the Spin Doctors. Like their second song was far worse than Two Princes, and that just went like supernova. So this one, again, I watched the documentary. The All-Star song, if you think about it, it's like literally targeting stupid people. Like everything about this song is dumb. It's like a children's song for adults, and then the song is basically telling you like, no, you're not stupid, you're just unique. And then I watched this documentary, and it was basically people have been writing them, like kids have been writing them letters complaining because they were getting beat up by bullies for liking Smash Mouth. And so that's why he wrote that song. I understand, like bullies are horrible people, but that doesn't make them wrong about Smash Mouth. Oh, and they also did a Monkees cover, which they did a cover of a band that wasn't even a real band to begin with, for Shrek. And they just wouldn't go away either until the guy finally died. So anyways, it's this generationally horrible music for I don't know who it's for. So I would say Smash Mouth.
So you're one vote for Smash Mouth. Okay. Nathan?
Interesting. I've had a lifelong aversion to white rappers. Dating back to Beastie Boys, Everlast. I don't know. There's something about it that just kind of bugs me. And this is very badly, or in what's the band name? Crazy Town. Very bad white rapping. Unforgivable. This song, it's funny. I think I remembered the "Come My Lady" part, but I didn't remember any other aspect of this song at all. So looking it up, I was kind of like, wow, this is, I don't think I made it through the entire video. Smash Mouth, again, I worked in pop radio for 5 years in the 90s. I met Smash Mouth when I worked on the morning show at Mix 106.5. Nice guys. They showed up 6 a.m, wasted, took pictures with everybody.
Oh, he died too. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I have good memories of that era of my life. They didn't go into like Hootie and the Blowfish territory where I just have like a visceral reaction when I hear Hootie and the Blowfish. I'm surprised they didn't make our list. But I don't know. This one's kind of a wash. They both suck, but my vote goes to Crazy Town.
All right, Jason?
Yeah, I'm going to vote Crazy Town as well. I had never, ever heard of them. I'd never heard the song before. When
all the gay sex you've had, you never heard of them once? No shit.
When you said Crazy Town, I pictured like some boy band or girl band or some like pop.
They're a boy band. They're definitely a boy band.
No. But I mean, like some assembled group of people who like all like sang harmonies and shit. I had no idea that it was going to be like some weird like rap thing. And when I heard it, it was like I felt secondhand embarrassment from like listening to it, and then when I saw them, I was just like repulsed. So Smash Mouth is irritating and boring and stupid, but Crazy Town were just dreadful. So Crazy Town is definitely the one I'm voting for in this matchup.
I had heard that song because they were playing the shit out of it for a long time, and it was like, it's annoying, it's terrible. And then when I saw them, like I like fell on the ground laughing. It's just like it's a punchline to the joke that is that song.
Crazy Town, I've said, did my little spiel on them. Smash Mouth, I've honestly, the Smash Mouth hits that they've had, it's funny, like you said, they did a cover of the Monkees. They have 3 songs that primarily are stuck in people's heads. Walking on the Sun, which now hearing the history of it, I like it even more, even though I didn't like it that much to begin with, but it's funny where it came from. The funny thing about All-Star, it was actually, you go watch the video, All-Star was written to be a song to accompany Mystery Men, a movie that bombed terribly, but All-Star people remember, and it's got like, I want to say like it was 400 million hits on YouTube. The song is more popular than the movie ever was. Like, I like Mystery Men, but so the song ended up becoming way more successful in the movie that it was meant to tie into. And then the other one was I'm a Believer, which I don't watch the Shrek movies, but I vaguely remember them doing that. And the funny thing is that Smash Mouth, by all rights, should be a band that I should hate more, based on just those 3 songs. But I don't have any, like, it's funny, if they come on, I'm not like terribly like uncomfortable about it. It's not, you know, I have friends that look like the lead singer, you know, they're all husky dudes that, you know, with this spike hair or whatever, and you know, so I'm kind of used to that shit, because they're from San Jose too, like, so, and they definitely look like guys from San Jose. Not that I'm friends with all the people from San Jose, but you know, I'm just glad they're not a new metal band. All right, because really, if they wanted to last and not get drunk to death, maybe if they were a new metal band, they'd find a reason to live these days. But Crazy Town, definitely, that with one song. The funny thing about it, I don't even think they play the instruments on that song. They have a DJ who's dead. They do have a member who's dead, DJ AM, who Adam Goldstein, I think his name was, who was much more successful as a DJ in his own right. But he was originally, I think, was part of that group, and he might have just looped all of those instruments in that song. I don't know. It does. Those guys look like they're cosplaying as a band in the video with the bass and the 2 guitars, and they're all shirtless. And again, the various degrees of tattooed whatever. It's a song that's aimed at trying to get chicks. There's chicks in the video. It's all it is just gross. I don't even call it rapping. They weren't even rapping, because they're barely, in order to rap, you kind of got to have, like, you know, skills. And those guys they had a few lines, but it's just like, it's like even the verses were just like the chorus of just like a couple lines, and here's one of this and here's one of that, and just because I sound like this doesn't mean it's rap. You know, it's weird. I wouldn't call it rap. They really just kind of invented their own style of trash. I mean, they kind of fall into a category. I would put another group that was on a list, but I don't think it's in our group or this round of bads. But Len, there was a band that Jason remembered. I forgot the name of the band, but Len was a band that kind of was a one-hit wonder. Crazy Town is the epitome of a one-hit wonder, but they had a song that was kind of like had some characteristics of trying to rap, and Crazy Town like kind of blurred that line. I wouldn't even put them in the same category with Linkin Park. They're not new metal. They're not metal. And they're not rock. They're not rap. They're just this one specific, like I said, Axe Body Spray is what I think about with them. Because it's like they made a song that could easily just be a commercial for products for men to try and get women. That's basically what they look and sound like. And then the whole video, when you watch the video, they all look like bad Molly salesmen. You know, just that's you know, they look like that's what they're trying to get you to do. Like, hey, girl, have this drink. Hopefully it doesn't, you know, hope the roofie kicks in so I can fucking get down on that. You know, whatever. That's what they all look like. They're trying to roofie your drinks. And there's all the chicks that are all around there that are roofied. And then all the visual effects are the effects of the roofie. And yeah, they really should just name their band Roofie. I mean, maybe they would have stuck around a little longer. I don't know. Crazy Town is the worst of these two, in my opinion. So that puts us at them going forward.
Yes.
All right. So then moving on in our current matchups of what we have. So we have New Kids on the Block advancing. I believe Counting Crows advancing. Moving on, Consolidated, moving on in the bads, and moving on, we have Crazy Town moving on into the bad. This is just going to get worse. My God. This is just so battle of the bads. So, yeah, cool. Everybody happy?
Yeah.
Good. Jason?
Deeply unhappy, but content.
It's what this bad music does to you. Maybe you can go put on some Destiny's Child and go down to the fucking club and, you know, get your bone on. All right. Well, good. I think this was fun. This was good. This was great. And yeah, it is not easy to get through. It is making us worse people, I feel. It's rough. So, but all right, we got through that. So we'll be back again. With that being said, this is Jason, Nathan from Newark, Ramshackle Dan, me and Dave signing off. We hope you, again, check out all the other episodes. God damn it. Keep up. Watch this shit. All right. We make this for you and us, but I mean, what you did for you too. So enjoy it. God damn. Bye.